Hello and welcome to Premodern Turtle Splash. Before we get into the video, please do like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and I really appreciate your support. Also, this video will be slightly different because I will show you how the deck works before the actual list. It's a combo deck that uses this card, Saprazzan Bailiff, as its main combo engine. So when this card comes into play, it removes all artifacts, enchantments from all graveyards from the game. And then when it leaves play, it returns all artifacts and enchantments in graveyards to their owner's hand. So how do we make a combo out of this? So there's quite a lot of sequencing involved. First, when the card comes into play, it will put the exile effect on the stack. But before this exile effect resolves, before it happens, we will sacrifice the Bailiff at instant speed. Don't worry about how, we'll get to that in a second. So sacrificing it at instant speed will then put the return effect on the stack, meaning the return effect will happen first, before the exile effect. So that will return all those nice artifacts and enchantments from our graveyard to our hand. And then, once all that's happened, or it's resolved, there's nothing left to exile, meaning the exile effect, it won't really make any difference because everything's already gone from the graveyard. But how do we sacrifice it at instant speed? First way is Altar of Dementia. We can sacrifice a creature to mill a player for equal to the power, in this case 2. This will make an infinite combo, which we'll get to later, to mill our opponents out. So we can also use Claws of Gix to gain infinite life. These are the main two combos in the deck. One is to mill our opponent, the other is to gain infinite life. In many cases, either of these will be game over. So we need a recursion engine. Animate Dead and Dance of the Dead essentially do the same thing in this deck, we're just playing different versions for Meddling Mage reasons. They will enchant the Bailiff, bringing him back, then when we sacrifice him and use his effects, he can get the reanimation spell back, creating an infinite loop. We also have Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond to generate infinite mana, but do remember with Lion's Eye Diamond, you will need to do some extra sequencing because when you use it, you discard your hand. So you will need to do something like casting the Animate Dead, and then in response, sacrificing the diamond, floating that mana, and going through the whole process. So do keep that in mind. For tutors, we have Intuition, an absolutely incredible card in this deck, because we want many cards in our graveyard. It doesn't really matter if they're there, so we can really confuse or trick our opponent. We can get 3 different combo pieces, and they'll all actually be relevant. We also have Oath of Druids or Gamekeeper. Gamekeeper is a nice way against decks that don't really play creatures to get the Bailiff into play. And of course, Oath is Oath, it's incredible against creature decks. We also have some inbuilt synergy with Cabal Therapy and Ray of Revelation because we'll be milling our deck a lot, so we can use these to sacrifice those Gamekeepers or kill any annoying enchantments. We also have Duress main deck. This combined with Cabal Therapy really gives the deck a great disruption package, which you don't always see in combo decks. So that's a really nice addition. In terms of the mana base, we are a kind of 3, sort of 4, maybe even 5 color deck. So we are playing a lot of those 5 color lands, such as City of Brass, Gemstone Mine, Undiscovered Paradise. You just come to expect these kind of things from these multicolor combo decks. We're also playing some Soul lands, Ancient Tomb, of course a classic, but we're actually playing the Mask's Depletion lands, which you don't always see. In this deck, they just accelerate, they help us to power out those things just a turn earlier, and I'm super happy to see them because I love those cards. So for the sideboard, we're going for a transformational thing because a lot of people will bring Graveyard Hate against us. Our main deck already has Oath of Druids, so it makes sense to bring in some big creatures in creature matchups, where we can just flip into one of those huge things and dominate the game. Both of these creatures in Ishan Shade and Symbiotic Worm are the most common, and they do have some inbuilt protection against removal, one being pro-white, the other leaving some guys behind when it dies. We also have Stronghold Gambit, which is amazing against those creatureless or very low creature count decks, because it can just help us for 2 mana out of nowhere to put a huge creature into play. We also have Ray of Revelation and Powder Keg, which take out artifacts and enchantments respectively. Powder Keg of course also doubles as a creature removal and is especially good at taking out tokens. So of course all combo decks are trying to assemble the pieces for their puzzle. This deck has a 4-card combo, but actually it's not as difficult to assemble as you'd think because the Bailiff can just return everything. So if we mill our entire deck, then we just need to have the Bailiff and we can get everything back. Intuition is also super strong in this deck for helping us to find those combo pieces, and there's so many different interactions and things that we can get with it. For example, we could get the combo, we could get some mana sources, we could just get some flashback cards for some extra value. There's really so much play to this card in this deck, and I really do think it will take a while to figure out which way to use it in each situation. Oath and Gamekeeper are of course ways to get our combo going. If we have any sacrifice outlet, then we can just churn through our deck until we find the Bailiff and just go off. Our starting hands of course are looking for combo pieces, mana sources, mana accelerants, and potentially some kind of disruption depending on the matchup. Against the deck, of course, Graveyard Hate is excellent because it's a graveyard deck. There's also many different kinds of artifacts and enchantments that are extremely hard or impossible to combo through, and Meddling Mage is an absolute nightmare because there's actually no main deck way to remove it. So if they have two, it's very easy for them to stop us from actually comboing out. Another card that's extremely hard to beat, especially game 1, is Gaia's Blessing. I really don't see how the deck beats this at all, because our game plan is to either mill them out or gain infinite life, and the deck's playing this, well, you can't mill them out, and they probably don't care about you gaining infinite life if they can't be milled and you can. So I really think Gaia's Blessing is an absolute nightmare card. So we're definitely a combo deck. In every matchup we're trying to combo off. Against aggro we'll just try to go for it as quickly as possible. Against control we'll use those intuitions and disruption spells to try and get our combo through. So the strengths of the deck, it has super fast wins and it definitely has the surprise factor. A lot of people don't even know what this deck is or how it works or what it even does. It also has main deck disruption, which is great for combo decks. The weaknesses would definitely be the hate cards, and it does take practice to play. It's not the easiest deck to just pick up and play. Gaia's Blessing, I really think that's a super hard card to beat, and sometimes fast decks can outrace us. So this deck recently won this year's Spring Fling, and I do believe that it was actually won by the person who first created this deck. So, I mean, that's awesome. So this is Connor's deck, and as always, I do recommend checking out TC decks. Otherwise, please do like, comment and subscribe, and thank you for watching.